Well, hello, hello. So I think this is going to be the Codex update. Also, it has to do something, I think, with Windsurf and the SWE 1 model that they recently did. Let me see how. Hello from Nashville. Hello, and welcome to the show. So, OpenAI stream is starting soon. All right, so I'm just making sure everything is prepared. Testing, testing. How's the background sound? Is it pretty good? You guys are able to hear that wonderful elevator music from OpenAI? I think Greg is going to be the one announcing it. He's usually doing the coding stuff. I don't think Sam's going to be on there, but I still think this is going to be important because, well, I guess let's get into 1 second. There were some rumors that from theinformation.com that on the Google I/O, which is coming up in 4 or 5 days here, they're going to be unveiling an AI agent, a developing software AI agent. Okay, it's starting.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Software engineering is changing, and by the end of 2025, it's going to look fundamentally different. In 2021, we announced our first model that we called Codex. This was the first time that we've really demonstrated what we would now call vibe coding. Just a couple weeks ago, we released Codex CLI, which is a local agent that runs on your laptop in your own terminal that you're able to pair with and interact with in a synchronous fashion. Today, we're going to take a step towards where we think software engineering is going, and we are releasing a new system, which is a remote software agent that can run many tasks in parallel. We call this system, in the grand tradition of OpenAI naming, Codex. The thing that is exciting about Codex is that it runs with your repository, your environment on OpenAI compute. So you're able to run many, many copies of it. So you're able to do many tasks in parallel, fire them off, come back to them later, which is something that we'll be showing you today. We're rolling this out to ChatGPT for Pro, Enterprise, and Teams users starting today. And we will be following up with Plus and EDU in the future. Codex is powered by a new model that we call Codex 1. This is our best coding model to date. We've taken O3 and we've optimized it for not just the benchmarks, but really for the kind of code that people actually want to merge into their code base. So thinking about comments, thinking about extraneous changes, thinking about the style, so that it's something that actually really accelerates people's work. And so to show you this system, which we're so excited to share with you, we have many members of the Codex team.
Hey, I'm Hanson. I'm one of the members of the Codex research team.
I'm Josh, and I'm an engineer on the Codex team.
And I'm Thibaut, and I built code agents and the infrastructure to power them. I'm going to be jumping right into the demo. So normally, you would have to connect your GitHub account. I've already done that for myself. And here I'm going to be selecting my repo. I have selected an open source repo, the preparedness repo, which contains some of our frontier evals made by the amazing preparedness team that we have here. And this is relevant, like frontier evals are really about agents. So I'm just going to be using that environment. And then I'm greeted with 3 tasks that we believe are good to get started with on any repo. The first one is an ask task, which just asks the code agent, Codex, to explain the code base to a newcomer, explain the general structure. The second one is a code task, which asks to find and fix a bug somewhere in the repo. Most of the repos, as you all know, like have bugs. So let's see. Let's see if the Codex agent can find one. I did not put any bugs in there. This is code that we work with every day. And so we're going to be showing 2 repos today. One is the preparedness repo, and the other one is the Codex CLI one. And the final one is one that I'm really excited about, where I ask it to go through the code base and not just explore the code base, but also come up with proactive task suggestions that it could be doing on its own. So let's start those. Now we have 3 Codex agents working on these tasks concurrently, just in the background. And what I'm also going to do is, one of my favorites is find as many typos and grammar mistakes as you can and fix them. But I think this didn't matter. Let's see if it understands also that my instructions as I make typos. And I have scheduled a task just before this, before we were going to jump on this, where I asked something quite interesting to the Codex agent. I ask it about one of my goals. I say, my code base I want it to be maintainable and bug-free. Read through the code, propose some tasks that would help with this goal, and don't overemphasize on to-dos. Like, to-dos are everywhere in code bases. Those I know about. I want novel things. And so the Codex agent went through the code base, and in its little environment, as we're going to show you, it found out about multiple things. Let's have a look. One of them here looks like we are having mutable defaults as arguments. Let's have Codex fix that.
Definitely fix that.
So let's schedule that. Correct variable spelling. I believe this will get fixed as part of the other task, but let's schedule that anyway. And then here, there was like a little consistency about how we set timeouts. One time we set it to 120, another time we set it to 60. This Codex agent here has proposed a task for itself. So we are delegating the delegation here, which blows my mind every time. And I'm just going to say make it 120. I think this is like the right timeout here. And let's have it code out for us. And then let's jump into maybe this task here and see the Codex agent at work. So this isn't running on my laptop here. What exactly is going on here, and like how does this work?
Yeah, that's a great question, Devo. So as evidence from just seeing all these tasks launch in parallel, we now need new agentic coding infrastructure for this world where agents need not only their own GPUs, but also a couple of CPUs. So this runs on OpenAI's compute infrastructure. It's actually, in fact, the same infrastructure we use for our reinforcement learning, and which means, fortunately, even ahead of this launch, it's been battle tested on the large-scale training runs that we do. And crucially, it's also consistent between what the agency is during training and what the agency is later in production. So each of these tasks runs in its own micro VM sandbox, a file system, CPU, memory, network policy, and the agent has free reign within it, right? So the agent has learned how to use all your POSIX commands like grep, sed, knows how to run linting, formatting, and obviously it likes to write and execute a whole bunch of code.
Yeah, one thing that I really love about this interface is just how lightweight it makes it to spin up tasks, right? It's just your task left and right. And I think that really makes a big difference for how you use it.
And I think it's a lot of powerful infrastructure, and like the web interface makes it nice to interface with it, but I think it's also a lot more configurable.
Yeah, so each task runs in what we call environment, essentially more or less a repo, but with environment variables, secrets, and setup scripts configured so that you can customize the runtime to more fully unlock the agent's capabilities. When we worked with early alpha testers, we found that you get really big early wins by installing something as simple as a linter or a formatter. And we actually now install a lot of those by default. And of course, our power users have all their test dependencies set up. For OpenAI's internal environments, we have even pre-commit hooks set up. So as the agent's coding, it's actually committing, seeing what the commit hooks say. Really similar to actually my own dev environment.
That sounds really exciting. Maybe let's watch it work. And we're going to jump to an environment that we have fully configured, like the Codex CLI, and let's demo something cool with it.
Yeah, so I think one of my favorite use cases for Codex is its ability to find and resolve complex issues. So even leading up to this launch, I think Codex actually found and fixed a couple of critical bugs in our code. But here we're looking at the Codex CLI, which Thibaut and I have worked on. So we've got a bug report from a user here. Basically, when they have file names with special characters, the diff command in the CLI shows up with an error message. And so one of the things we've trained our agents to do is not just like address these issues, but also we've introduced this concept of an agent's MD file. So we know for developers it's extremely important to provide steerability and instruction to the model. And so the first thing we'll see it do here, it'll actually take a look at the agent's MD file in the repository. And so here we've provided some instructions about the layout of the repository. You can see one of the special instructions here, we've asked it to print some ASCII art to the terminal. I think, does that look like a cat to you guys?
It is.
It's a different cat every time.
It passes my cat test.
Yeah, pretty good. And then I think we also saw above that, basically, we've also told it, here's the TypeScript part of the repo in the Codex CLI, and along with some instructions about how to run tests here, which is pretty important for the agent. So one of the cool things about the way we train these models with end-to-end reinforcement learning, they not just write code, but they also know how to navigate the code base and even reproduce the issues. So here, it's written a little script for itself. So you can see it's similar to us. I don't know about you guys, but I love to use print debugging.
Never.
That's something we see emergent kind of as part of the RL training. It actually wrote a little script here to reproduce the issue. It's written a file actually that matches the user's description, and it's actually able to execute the code to actually verify that the issue's able to be reproduced.
It's displaying a lot of complex behavior that is very similar to how we all work. How do we teach the agent to do that?
Yeah, I think so. We have a lot of these kinds of tasks in training. We use end-to-end reinforcement learning to actually verify that it completes the entire cycle from writing code to running tests, and then we verify that that it actually is able to complete the tasks and satisfy, for example, both style checks and programmatic checks, and many other things. And then we can see that on evaluations like Sweetbench, this results in state-of-the-art performance. So yeah, so it's actually we can see here it's actually found the issue and it's actually writing a test for itself now so we can see that it's verifying its work for us, and it's almost done here. So it's actually now it's even running linters to verify that the code is matching our style expectations.
And I saw it refer back to its agents.md here.
Yeah, exactly. So as part of the agents.md, you can provide detailed guidelines on, for example, commit messages and PR messages and how exactly you want your code to be structured.
It looks like it's preparing files for commit.
Yeah, I think it's almost done. So just within the time that we spent talking, this change probably would have taken me at least 30 minutes or even hours to debug, and just in a moment I think we'll see the final PR.
And the other thing is you could do this from your phone.
Exactly. Yeah, it looks like it's done with the PR. How's this look to you, Thibaut?
Let's have a look. It's kind of tricky to review code so fast here, but one of the things here is that it did add a test. It's a repro test for the issue that we mentioned. So this seems to match here. And also what gives me confidence is that it actually ran this test. And there's a little proof here, which we'll talk about later, where I gain a lot of confidence here that this test is actually passing. So I would just go and push and create a PR here. But now that we have a whole bunch more tasks to have completed, what do you think, Greg?
I mean, I think this is magic. I'm definitely feeling the AGI here. Thank you all. And I think that what this system, in my mind, shows is that we're moving beyond thinking of our AI systems as just language models, right? That we're really building systems around them. So it's not just about the core AI intelligence. It's really about what tools it has access to, the environment that it is able to operate within, the kinds of sort of real world, conditions that it's been trained to be exposed to. It's starting to feel much more like the interface that we're going to see for a real AGI. Still much more to build, but it's starting to feel like it has the right form factor. And so here to tell you more about how we build the system are more members of the team.
Hi, everyone. I'm Andre. I work on research and systems for reinforcement learning and coding agents.
I'm Katie. I'm on the research team here.
I'm Jerry. I also work on research here. If we look back at the history, we've been working on large language models that code for many years already. The first Codex models we have released that powered GitHub Copilot and was little more than a smart autocomplete. And I think they have started a revolution of AI-powered coding that we really see take off today. Since then, we've worked on a lot of things. We've improved every layer of our pre-training stack to make our models really, really great at all kinds of programming tasks. At the moment GPT-4 was released, it was by far the best programming model in the world. We've also constantly iterated on our post-training recipe to make the models in ChatGPT really great at answering users' programming-related questions. Every day, millions of users use ChatGPT to accelerate their work. However, working with LLMs on a programming-related projects still feels pretty clunky. It does require a lot of hand-holding and context switching. I believe the current paradigm of scaling up reinforcement learning finally can take us to the place where we can automate larger chunks of work, where our models can work on, where we can tell them what we want to do, not necessarily how, and they can work for extended period of time on that task for a user on a real production code base. Even more importantly, the infrastructure that we are opening up for it is perfectly scalable. It doesn't run on your laptop, it runs on the cloud. At a single push of a button, you can spin up 1 agent, 10 agents, or 10,000 agents. It's an on-demand AI-powered force multiplier, and you are seeing really great results with it internally.
Cool. So I get to do the part of the demo that is probably the most unlucky, where I'm not going to kick off any tasks, but I am going to take a look at the tasks that Thibaut, Hansen, and Josh kicked off and hope that they're good. And I think this is actually kind of reflection of where engineering work has moved over the past few years, where a lot of my time now is spent reviewing code rather than writing it. And in that sense, it becomes even more important for our models to be very aligned with what we want. So I will talk you through how we train these models with alignment in mind as we look through a couple of these tasks. So let's click back into the one that Thibaut kicked off here. So I think there's 3 key parts here. On the right, we have the actual code output produced by the model. When we look at code and when you review code, you might look for things like, like having sensible changes, doing exactly what the PR description said, and not having extra changes. You don't want extra comments littered throughout your code. This is feedback that we've heard about our models before. And so something that we really focused on was like having good code quality and style so that code is easier to review. The other thing that we really focused on here was interpretability and verifiable outputs. So on the left side here, we have a model-generated summary of exactly what it did. Right here, it added an import for this function. It tells you what it's doing and like why it's doing it. And it shows you in this citation view exactly the code that it was referencing when it's talking about what it did. And then in the testing section here, the model actually ran the test that it was told to run in the agents.md file. But beyond just actually running the test, the model actually reports whether the test passed or failed. And in this case, you can see exactly where in the work log the test was run, and you can see and verify that it succeeded. Let's take a look at one more task. OK, so here, there's another task that was done in the preparedness repo, where I can take a look over this model output. And it might pass like the smell test to me initially. But I can see from the model's testing output here that it actually didn't manage to pass the test. And so I'm looking here, and it looks like it might be something with like a missing dependency in the environment, maybe Pedantic's not installed. And so this PR might be something that I check back out to my computer and rerun the tests locally. And maybe if I see that this is valuable, this is something I can go back to my environment configuration and reinstall. And ultimately, I think we find Codex to be like as trustworthy, if not more trustworthy, than our own coworkers. I don't have I don't have this kind of access to like what Andre did on any given day in terms of like the logs or the actual test outputs. And I think as we move towards this world where AI writes more and more code, this kind of verifiability is going to be really important.
So I'm super excited to share this with all of you today. I've been working on this for more than 2 years, actually a lot of that time with Jerry. It's been a real blast. And we've been using this internally and seeing a lot of really magical moments start to appear. We're sharing this with you today because we think this does represent a glimpse into the future of how software engineering is done. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about how I use the product. So in the lead up to this launch, I've ended up doing a lot of coordination work. I haven't had as much time for coding as I may be used to, or as much as I maybe ideally would like.
Sorry.
Maybe Greg can empathize with that a little bit. And so if I'm like reviewing someone else's code or reading through Slack or playing with the product just to make sure that it's developing well, sometimes I'll have an idea of like a code change I might like to make, a change in the product or some refactor, and I'll just kick it off in Codex. It takes like 30 seconds. It's a very lightweight thing to do, and then I'll go back to Slack or wherever I am. And then later I'll come back, and the task is sitting there, and it's done. And sometimes it's a small task. It's like a simple string change. Sometimes I was ambitious, and I put in a request for like a bigger refactor or some sort of feature. And this by no means works all the time. This is a research preview. We think it's still early days. But sometimes it's like a multi-100-line diff, and I open it, and I start reading through it, and I'm like, wow, this actually looks like it's correct. And I read through what the model did. Maybe the model ran some tests. Maybe those tests failed, and the model fixed the test failure. I look on the left, and all the little test results are green. And I'm like, this change actually looks really good. Let me open a PR. Maybe I'll send it to a colleague for review. Maybe they'll approve it, and we'll merge it, and it lands in the code base. And then I take a step back, and I realize I just landed like a non-trivial change, like a large change, often, in our code base, and that branch never even hit my laptop. It was just something that happened completely through this interaction with an async delegation to one of these agents. And when that works, it's really a magical moment, and it's really amazing. And when I talk to other colleagues, they're using the product too, and they're using it in different ways. And they're having magical moments and magical interactions with it of their own. And you can see some of those stories in the videos that we're linking from the blog associated with this release. So that's all very exciting to see. But what I'm most excited about is to share this with all of you today and see what you all do with it.
One of the things that I find really exciting about how Codex works is it has very non-human strengths and weaknesses. And so it really means that you get much more out of it if you start thinking of it as not just a static tool that you just use like, just without having to build expertise, but if you really optimize your code base around what it can do, you start, like honestly, most of what Codex benefits from is just what is good software engineering practices in terms of modular code bases with good tests and things like that. That you're able to just move so fast, and we've seen that happen internally with many people at OpenAI. We are releasing this today to ChatGPT enterprise teams and pro users. We're going to have very generous rate limits. We're going to start out without any additional pricing. Over time, as we start to get some feedback and some sense of how people are using it, we'll introduce more rate limits. We'll be rolling out to Plus and EDU users that we'll be thinking about if there's pricing for how to get additional queries. In general, we're just so excited to see how people use it because we've seen every single person at OpenAI uses Codex differently. Now, we're not nearly at the end of this journey. We're very much at the beginning. That we're going to continue to improve Codex. We're going to make it be integrated into far more systems, like be there in your issue tracker, release an API so that you can have it automatically be integrated into your CI. So if there's a CI error, you don't have to fix it anymore, that Codex takes care of it. We also are continuing to develop Codex CLI, which again is a local agent that runs on your laptop. We're releasing a mini model today, and we're also going to be releasing sign-in with ChatGPT to make it easier to get up and running. Now, if you think about it, there's two different form factors that we've talked about. There's the local synchronous on your computer version, but there's also what Codex is of an asynchronous in the cloud, runs on its own computer. And we think that the future is going to be these two systems coming together, right? What you really want is you want a remote coworker with its own computer, but who can also look over your shoulder. And so you're there typing away, you're working on some change, you're like, I want to go to lunch. Codex, can you finish this? It just takes it over seamlessly and runs it in the cloud. Or if you have a question about something or you want to pull down a change because your dependency isn't installed or something like that, it all just moves around totally seamlessly. So it's a coworker, it's a intern that you can delegate to, it's a mentor, it's a pair programmer, and all of these at once. And so our goal really is to help accelerate the useful work that is done to help it be so there's more software engineers in the world, so that there's more programming that is done that is useful and able to move forward the world. So we're just so excited to see what you're going to do with Codex. Thank you all.
All right, so that was pretty cool. Testing. All right, so one sec, let me make sure that the sound is good. All right, so a couple of things. So first of all, really fast, can you guys put in chat on a scale of 1 to 10, in terms of the AlphaEvolve thing that came out yesterday from Google DeepMind, 1 to 10, how impactful do you think that system will be? 10 being one of the biggest sort of breakthroughs in AI, 1 just a big nothing burger. So just 1 to 10, just type in a number. What do you think about how impactful AlphaEvolve will be over time? Yeah, okay, so definitely we're getting some 10s, 8s, 7s. We're getting a few 1s and 2s, but I feel like it's definitely more kind of high. So 9, 8, 10, etc. 8 to 9, 9, 9, 9, 8. Yeah. So, you know, the thing that kind of strikes me as very, very interesting in terms of the AlphaEvolve is that what we're seeing is what they did a long time ago, because it's running on RX and 50 Wes Roth gift memberships. Thank you so much, RX. That's absolutely incredible. Can I interact with this somehow? But I love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So we're seeing stuff from a while ago. The updates that they did to the Google infrastructure was implemented like a year ago. So like, what are they working on now? And then on Machine Learning Street Talk, the podcast, they interviewed a few of the developers, and they're like, well, the thing that we can talk about is this. So the stuff that is kind of in the background is, man, I don't even know, but it is beginning to see, it is beginning to seem like it could be. You know how when GPT-4 came out, they called it sparks of AGI or proto-AGI, kind of the very, very beginning of sort of that. We're kind of in the foothills of the mountain that is the AGI. I feel like AlphaEvolve, what we're seeing right now, is the same thing. It's sparks of that idea of recursive self-improvement, because it's optimizing its own training process. It's optimizing the hardware that it's running on. There was also another thing they were talking about. It optimized some sort of a thing for the attention mechanism. Man is still better. Power inherent in the something. Power inherent. 999 super chat. Thank you so much. Manus is, and I was actually going to mention Manus here. Here's what I'm thinking. So recently I did an interview with the guys from the SVIC podcast, who are very, very interesting RX again with the 50 Wes Roth membership. Wow. Thank you so much. Wow, you guys are to everybody that joined us. This is your lucky day. Let me see if I have Codex. But one of the things that they talked about, that they kind of explained to me, because they know quite a bit about Silicon Valley and all that stuff, kind of like the shenanigans that happens in the background that a lot of us may not be familiar with. The thing that really was interesting was they were saying, so because when OpenAI purchased Windsurf, I thought it's like, okay, you get the user base and you get all the stuff that goes with it, but they kind of helped me refine the thinking a little bit, because everybody, the thing that they're going for right now, both OpenAI and Google, is they're trying to get all the developers, everybody that's doing code, to do that code on their platform where they're able to get all the data. So as you're putting together all your code, as you're committing it to GitHub or whatever, they want to sit there and just observe all that data, see what's working, what's not working, and all of that is to optimize their code and optimize those platforms, because it creates this sort of flywheel effect where the more people use it, the better it gets. Because if you think about it, Google, the search engine, I mean, one of the big things was like, it also kind of had that flywheel effect, right? The more people used it, the more data they had to make better decisions about what search results to serve. So it's kind of this optimization process. Amazon, same thing. There was this flywheel effect, and actually there was a great book written by, I forget the name, I'll forget it. I think it was called The Flywheel. If anybody can put in chat who wrote The Flywheel, I think it was the same guy that wrote Good to Great. But anyways, so Amazon was the same thing. The more people were on Amazon, the more vendors were on Amazon, the better the prices were, and the better the prices were, the more people. And so there's this kind of like positive flywheel effect. So I think that or how it was explained to me, and I definitely agree with this, is that there's going to be a similar flywheel effect with these software AI agents, and whoever kind of builds the biggest sort of base will definitely have a massive, massive advantage. So Google's building their own. Jim Collins, thank you. Yep, that sounds right. Jim Collins was, pretty sure. Was the guy that wrote that book, great book. And so I think the same exact thing is happening here. So, a lot of people are talking about software engineers being replaced. I don't know. At this point, I'm thinking almost that it's going to be incredibly, Jim Collins, thank you. That is going to be incredibly beneficial to know how to code right now. And even more, not necessarily to code as in to be able to know exactly, which sort of strings of letters to put in, like the syntax and stuff like that, but understanding at a high level software engineering, just being able to understand how all the pieces fit together, I think is going to be incredibly, incredibly important. And I will show you why. But really fast, let me just do this. Sorry, I had my audio off, but you didn't miss anything. So this is testing. Okay. So this is theinformation.com. Google developing software AI agent, Pinterest-like feature ahead of I/O. So Google's going to drop some incredible stuff, I think, at the Google I/O. Since they published everything that has to do with like 2.5 and all of this stuff, including, VO, and Gemini models and all that stuff, I thought they were going to drop, for sure they were going to drop, I think, not for sure, but pretty certain they're going to drop 2.5 Ultra. I thought maybe they were even going to drop Gemini 3, because the software update for the Android, they were calling it Material 3. So I thought maybe they were going to roll out all the three, Gemini 3 and all that stuff at the same time. And but it based on some of the comments from Logan Kilpatrick, I think he was like, "Whoa, chill, you guys." So I'm thinking we're not going to get 3. I'm pretty sure we're going to get 2.5 Ultra, which is still extremely exciting. So, but the other thing that I think leaked, or this has been demonstrated to employees and outside developers. So Google will unveil at the I/O a software development lifecycle agent, and this is why I think we're seeing OpenAI jumping in here and talking about their stuff right now, because I'm gonna have chat on my phone here so I can see what you guys are saying. It's just a little bit easier for me. So if I'm looking down, that's me just reading chat. How's chat for everybody? Is it still moving? Yep. Okay. Yep. There we go. Very cool. Anyways, yeah, and thank you. Can we please thank RX? That is incredibly generous. So I really, really appreciate it. How many times? There's been because it was 50 twice, I think. So it's 100, but there might have been more that I missed. So thank you so much, RX. And I'm going to be doing more stuff with the membership. So those of you that are getting 250 gifted subs. Oh my God. RX, you are an incredible person. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you, RX. Anyways, so, and I think that's why we're seeing OpenAI dropping this thing that we just saw ahead of Google I/O, as they do, right? That's their favorite thing to do, right? To take the wind out of Google's sails right before they announce some big stuff. Somebody earlier mentioned that DeepSeek is gearing up to announce their next big thing, which we expect to be the R2. Does anyone have any data on that or anything like that? Where can I verify that information? Is that just rumors, or is there somewhere online where we can kind of see that confirmed? Is there a DeepSeek conference that's being set up? Yeah, I need to start doing some member videos and stuff like that. I had a few ideas, so we'll see how that pans out. But what I wanted to show everybody is this. So this, for people that are not familiar, this is Centdex. So this is a person. How many of you have been watching Centdex? Because he's been around for quite some time. Wow, yeah, RX, tons and tons of memberships. I really appreciate that. That's just out of this world. Absolutely amazing. I apologize if I missed somebody doing a super chat. Looks like somebody did like a $5 super chat. I really apologize if I... RX is Sergey Brin. Wow, that'd be nice. That'd be kind of cool. But Centdex. So Centdex is doing some crazy stuff, and I think more people need to see it. I wonder if he's been getting some more. Okay, so yeah, this one, because when he posted this, it only had initially only had 20,000-30,000 views within days after he posted it. I was like, this needs more. So I've interacted with him on Twitter. I've talked about this on a few videos. I posted some stuff, and others have too. So I feel like this is picking up steam. But for all the people that are interested, there's this saying, if you want to know what the kind of the tech future looks like, look at what all the nerds are doing in their free time on the weekends. And so if you want to see what the tech future is looking like now, I would be looking at this. So Mr. Centdex, who is not an engineer, by the way, from what I understand, I believe he's got a legal background, and he learned a lot of this stuff by himself. Yeah. Yep. Shadow Wolf, agreed. Yeah, Centdex is awesome. So Sundar Pichai did the All In podcast. I just saw it. I didn't watch it, but I saw that he did that. That's going to be interesting to catch up on. Okay, so this is the Unitary Robots G1 EDU, right? So it's kind of comes in a box. It's like that. It's 4 to 5 feet tall. I forget. He says it somewhere. So usually you have a specialized these metal bars, the harness that you put the robot on. I believe it's called a Gendry or something like that, and Gendry, something like that. And he didn't have the specific one, so he's using some sort of an agricultural something for livestock. I think he said so, which is just I think amazing. To hook this robot up, to kind of hang it up so that when it kind of like is powered, it doesn't just like fall over or whatever, and so you can troubleshoot stuff. One thing that I thought was just absolutely hilarious, because there's a lot of people that are saying that were like concerned about robot safety and like what happens if it attacks you. The dude's got a bunch of katanas on the wall and swords behind the robot. So if the robot goes rogue, it doesn't have to reach that far to arm itself with double swords. But, and again, so I encourage people to watch this, but my understanding, and this is what kind of blew my mind, is so Unitary does a lot of stuff that's kind of open source. And so Gantry, okay, yeah, it's a gantry, is the thing that you suspend the robot on so it doesn't like fall over on its face when you're working with it. So a lot of the stuff that Unitary provides, there's some open source stuff. A lot of it is in C++, which is kind of notoriously one of the, I think most people would say a more demanding language, a more difficult language. Sendex doesn't have the sort of, he hasn't worked with that too much. He worked with Python, stuff like that. So what did he do? He hooked up the Codex, OpenAI's Codex, so kind of the same thing that we were looking at today at the live stream, although this is more like in the cloud. This is the local version you run. So he hooked up the Codex, and he was able to use Codex to connect to the Unitary GitHub and all their documentation, stuff like that. And Unitary would explain to him kind of how to do stuff and what the different things do. And so he was able to interact with it through Codex without necessarily knowing how the actual language worked. And somebody, Dion, I think earlier said, like, yeah, you can use it to, like, if you don't know a certain language, it can help you, first of all, determine which programming language you want to use, etc. But one thing that was very interesting to me is, like, I think we need to shift our thinking about how software engineering is going to be moving forward. Maybe, this is just my guess, but a lot of them, like you noticed Greg today, he said something like, this is going to be the operating system for AGI. And many people have been saying something along those lines. So if you have kind of the thing that you're trying to develop right here, so this is your robot that you're trying to train, or this is the GitHub repository, or this is whatever project you're doing, right? Normally the software engineer, the human, would directly interact with it. But if you think about what everyone's trying to build, is they're kind of trying to build this operating system in front of it. So you're interacting with Codex. Codex is adding the code, explaining the code to you. That's your assistant that through which you're doing stuff, right? So it's almost like, if it's a piece of paper, it's more automated than a pen, but you know what I mean? It's kind of like your assistant that's doing the stuff for you. So you're telling it what to do, it's doing the stuff for you. So I don't think this replaces software engineers. I don't think this, at least not anytime soon. I think what this does is it elevates the need, the stuff that the software engineers need to do. It eliminates all the busy work. It eliminates all the tedious stuff, and you just have to kind of like be doing the top level functions, figuring out where you want this thing to be going, etc. And let me just show you one other thing. I'm trying to see if I can find the AlphaEvolve paper. Yes. Because I think, again, we're seeing even here, we're beginning to see kind of like what the future is going to be looking like. So basically, you know, so AlphaEvolve, for those of you who haven't seen it or read it, this seems like a really big deal. This seems like a really big deal. Let's just say that. And a lot of the stuff that they talked about is from a year ago with the previous generation of models. So the fact that it's impressive, even though what they're building inside of Google DeepMind right now is probably many times further than this. So one of the things that AlphaEvolve was able to do is to help improve the TPUs, so the Google's tensor processing units. So that's their AI accelerated chips. So instead of like the GPUs of NVIDIA, Google's version of that, or their sort of approach to hardware, is called the TPUs. And so notice, so designing new chips is a complex and time-consuming process, often spanning years. Right, so it involves manually rewriting hardware descriptions, right, to improve these little. So it's like a lot of meticulous work. It's a lot of meticulous work that very smart people, very highly paid, highly educated, you know, very experienced people, you know, have to like meticulously, you know, as they say, demanding months of iteration by highly skilled engineers, right? So this is not easy work. It's very expensive. It's very time consuming. And AlphaEvolve is able to optimize like already highly optimized whatever. So it doesn't matter exactly what it is, but it's a way to optimize how these chips run. And the point of it is that the thing that they're saying, I think, in this paper is what this thing can do applies to a lot of industries and fields that we think of as mature, right? So like the matrix multiplication thing that they were doing, you know, we had that for like 50, 60 years. No one was able to improve on it. And then this thing's like, oh yeah, you know, here's a way that we can improve on it. The remarkable N, I'm seriously considering changing to a Pixel phone. Yeah, I went to Pixel, to the Android ecosystem. I don't think I'm going back to Apple, especially now with all the stuff that Google has in there, you know, coming up. So my point is that, oh, one more thing. So my point here was this. There was a line here that I think really kind of demonstrates where this is going. I don't recall where, but basically what it's saying is that instead of months of hard work by human engineers, that process is replaced by several days worth of work by this AI system. And what that allows the engineers to do is they kind of get pushed up on the sort of like they're doing higher level tasks. So instead of doing the tedious hard work, they're doing higher level tasks. I wish I had the. Okay, here it is. So beyond performance gains, AlphaEvolve, can you guys see that? Significantly reduces the engineering time required for kernel optimization from weeks of expert effort to days of automated experiments, allowing researchers to innovate faster. And I think this is kind of the future of where, you know, software engineering is going and all that stuff is, you know, like what Syntax is doing. So before you would have to learn C++ and meticulously go through the code bases and stuff like that and figure out how it works and then slowly add code. Now you're not even really interacting with it. You kind of have this, you're like one layer removed, one layer of abstraction. You're talking to Codex, OpenAI's Codex, instead of the actual database. And let's see, because he's got some more. And so if you think about it, so he was able to get this thing up and running. So this is the view from the camera of the robot, right? So you can see inside his, there it is right there. Let me move it a little bit here. You see that little robot walking towards you? It's right there. And this is, I guess, the camera view. And this is the, what kind of, some sort of a, what is it, LiDAR or something like that? Some sort of a, he explains what this is. I mean, some sort of, yeah, I guess like a LiDAR, right? Can I make, sorry. You guys are saying on here to enable the subtitles. Yeah. So anyways, so, you know, that whole idea of like, to see what the future is, look at what all the, like the nerds and the, like the tech people, what they're doing in their free time on the weekends. This, I think, is it, right? So here's a person that is training a robot using some open source software. Because remember, Codex is open source. A lot of the stuff that Unitree is doing, I believe, is open source. So we're you know, using open source software to train these things. I don't know if he was doing stuff in the simulation like with NVIDIA's Isaac Gym or anything like that, but I mean, here's, you're controlling a robot, you're teaching it new skills, and it's able to walk around your home, kind of map out your house over time, hopefully developing a better ability to navigate around, stuff like that. And the whole thing is written in C++. The developer doesn't use C++. He's using, you know, he's probably proficient in Python, but he's using the OpenAI's Codex to do all this stuff. He's using Codex to explain to him, you know, all the functionality and stuff like that. This is the future. Like, I am so excited about this. Can you comment on Epic's AI prediction of an exponential decay in AI progress after 2030 as the most likely? I haven't seen that, so let me check out Epic AI. And they're calling for an exponential decay in AI progress. I would be very interested to see how they explain that, how they talk about that, for sure. I mean, I was thinking about this. I did a few interviews. I was talking to Dylan Curious, and like one of the things that, like, if you think about like exponentially increasing the intelligence, you know, AI, like its cognitive abilities, is there some functional sort of limit to intelligence, right? Like, is it just like, if we're measuring it in IQ points or whatever, some sort of a measurement? Did they talk to Dwarkesh, the guys from Epic AI? I might have to check that out. Is there some functional limit to what you can do with just exponentially increasing intelligence? And if not, then what does that even look like? You know, if you let that continue, like, what is it? It's so wild to think about that. And I don't think there's any easy answers. But so yeah, that's Sendex. I'm like blown away with what he's doing. What's interesting, he was saying at some point, like if you're testing the arms or something like that, if you have your hand in front of it as it like comes online, it could probably like either break your arm or, you know, hurt you. He was saying how that robot, if you teach it to punch, could probably like knock somebody out, which is kind of wild to think about it, because it's not huge. I forget how big it is. And I think it's like 65 pounds or something like that. So it's not like massive, but it seems like it's very, very strong. I mean, we've seen this thing do flips. In fact, I always go off on these random tangents, but I think somebody is putting together let me see if I can play this. So this is, I believe, Unitree that they're doing this. They're putting although maybe not, maybe just a similar looking robot. They're putting together a mech combat. So this is like the UFC of robot fighting. So they're training these robots to do, boxing matches. Would you watch this? Like if there was like some like streaming thing where you just saw various robots learning to do boxing and grappling and stuff like that, would you watch this? I'm very, very curious. Baby Terminator, that's right. How much can it bench? I feel like it could bench a lot. Like I would be shocked if. I don't think it can. It has a lot of endurance. So if you make it like lift a lot and then run with it, or bench a lot, like I think the battery is going to be running out pretty quickly. You know what I mean? Like with the heavy weights, it's like if you try to haul something with an electric car, the range drastically drops. But yeah, Rock'em Sock'em robots all grown up. That's right. But man, that would be interesting too. They feel no pain. Absolutely. Yeah. This has nothing on boxing. Yeah. There's always going to be a human element. Like even though AIs can beat us at chess, we still prefer watching humans play chess. Only if Hugh Jackman is involved. So you mean if Hugh Jackman is battling these robots, like if there's like 5 of them versus Hugh Jackman, and they all have to fight each other. Yeah, okay, I can see that. I would pay to see that. All right, let me see if I have the thing yet. The thing is, it sounds like there's a setup process for the Codex in order to be able to use it. I do have the local one. So I don't think I have it yet. I'm on the Pro plan. So it's located at chatgpt.com/codex, but to me it defaults back to just the regular ChatGPT. So for the people just joining us, we have. Do you even lift row bros? That's good. That's good. I was gonna name the poll like, do you even code, bro? But I don't know how many. Like, not 100% of the people will get that reference. So yeah. So I don't have Codex yet, and it seems like, and there's probably a little bit of a setup time for that. So I might have to just do a video about it later, but I am checking here every once in a while. I believe I have it running locally. Let me see. So for people that are not familiar with it, this is kind of like, one second. This is what Codex looks like when it's running locally on your computer. So you're able to select the model that you're trying to use and etc. I'm trying to think what projects I have installed that we can try out. Give me a second. There's one that I have, but it's the issue with it is that it's gonna break the camera because there's one that changes your face to whatever face that you want to have on there. So you're able to, let me show you. Yeah, so there's this one thing that allows you to upload any image or anybody's face, and then it changes how your face looks, which is pretty cool. And it kind of does that in real time. But the issue is I can't show you that in real time because it's going to break this camera that I'm using to live stream. It needs to be used for that thing. There's a special way that I have to like set it up to check it out. But what does everybody think about, can I make games with Codex? Yes. What does everybody think about, have you seen OpenAI's announcement about discovering the previously undiscovered like civilizations in the rainforest? That seems really, really interesting. I've been meaning to do a video about that. I think the big killer use case is that the new vision models are incredible. So their ability to go through and figure out kind of like to analyze images and stuff like that, very incredible. So I feel like using that now, yeah, on the archaeological sites. I feel like there's a high chance that somebody will discover something that's new. I do not doubt it. So I apologize. I know this is not the most exciting thing, me just trying to find something interesting. But I'm trying to showcase some of the things that you could do with Codex, some things that you can easily kind of spin up and mess around with that I already have installed. This is the part about live streams that it can be a little bit annoying. Just the idea that like I can't cut out the boring parts. But let me show you guys this. So this is an open source project where you are able to upload an image of whomever you want. So this is me. And I uploaded an image of Elon Musk, for example. And so in real time, using the NVIDIA card, it kind of like puts his face over my face. So as I'm moving around, it's doing that. Yeah, the frame rate isn't the best. So I have the NVIDIA 4090. And what's interesting is like if you shine a light in your face, it doesn't seem to break it. Like it's still pretty high fidelity. The worst thing is like I haven't shaved my beard in that video, so like on all of these the beard is sticking out. Here's Demi Sasabis, right? So I think that's a pretty good again, the beard kind of ruins the thing, but it, you know, but the rest of it is looking very, very good. So here's Elon Musk, or excuse me, Sam Altman, but that's kind of weird. That's not, and this is of course The Rock. Although I don't know how much that looks like The Rock, but that's that. And you know, we were talking about Hugh Jackman. So this is Walter White. That's Hugh Jackman. And let me see if I can get his original image in the frame. So yeah, it's scary because these things are getting pretty good and they're able to do this in real time. And this is running on consumer grade hardware in real time. And I'm sure if I mess around with it, I can probably make it even more realistic and make it better. This was just without. The only thing is, you know, if you ever run into a situation where you think somebody's trying to trick you, if you ask them to put something in front of their face, like you can see it breaking down here, right? So it's not able to draw the face over my hands or under my hands. So that's where it breaks it. And that's Leonardo. Do you have a female face? That somebody's going to clip that and it's going to be posted in places, it's going to get posted where I don't want that clipped and be used out of context. So, yeah. That's, what's his name from Sopranos. And that one was weird because that's the Joker. But as you can see here, it like removes the makeup. So it looks really weird. Anyways, so that's that. Let me see if Codex is up. Not quite yet. Let's see. Yeah. Saw examples where you can put things on your face and it didn't break. Hollywood would love it. Yeah. Let's see. I'm wondering why Codex. Anybody with the Pro plan have Codex or are able to use their ChatGPT to access Codex? So no, I did not make that one. That was an open source project on GitHub, but with Codex and stuff like that will be very interesting because you're going to be able to download those things and change them in whatever ways you want. So for example, there was one open source project where Alloy voice assistant. And so then you can use something like Codex, or at the time, I think I was just using Claude standalone to change out. For example, you can change which models you're able to interact with, or instead of it being like a visual assistant, you're able to have it look at your desktop and do that. So somebody's asking, do I think that Google is going to be doing something better? Google will be doing something similar. So this is from theinformation.com. That it's developing and will be unveiling its software AI agent. And it's going to be doing the software development life cycle agent, as they're calling it. And I think this is the next kind of a big thing that's going to be everybody's going to be going after. So I just talked to, I mentioned this already, but the people from the SVIC podcast, so they're both ex-Googlers, right? So they've worked for Google for a decade plus, both of them decades plus. And one of them was the director of engineering for Google. So they know a lot about kind of like how this whole thing works behind the scenes, how these companies think. And so their understanding is that everyone's trying to get on board of this code development thing using AI, and everybody wants as many developers as possible to be doing this on their platform, because what that means is they would be able to kind of use like a flywheel to understand the I apologize. So I just, sorry, I'm like trying to reach out and like talk at the same time, because there's somebody brought up something interesting that I do want to mention. So what was the name? The person that's talking about like AI ethics and deepfakes technique. Let's come back to that because I do want to chat about that. But technique, I think you were the person that initially said, or was it somebody else, that there's a problem with showing the deep fake stuff. Whoever made that comment, like explain that, because what's a better approach? Pretend it doesn't exist, not talk about it and hope it goes away. That's the smarter approach to this. I mean, I'd love what's a better way of dealing with this technology? You know what I mean? I don't know if that was technical. I got to go back and check. But with this stuff, it's a flywheel effect that allows developers to be on there, to like be able to submit their code, commit their code, and for the companies to be able to get that data to kind of see the process and be able to improve as a result of that. One is, one of the things that Greg said on the OpenAI stream, he's saying like, this thing will be superhuman in certain abilities. So it's different than humans, and it's going to be superhuman in certain things. And if the code base is optimized for AIs, that is going to work very, very well. So that's like a whole thing to unpack, because the one thing that we're seeing across a lot of these things is that there's AI agents struggle with long-range coherence, long-term coherence. Let's come back to that, because we kind of have an interesting conversation happening here. So let me do this. Because we're having a conversation about the ethics of deep fake technology and stuff like that. So I think most people understand that this is going to be an issue, right? I don't think like people are like, oh, how could this technology be used for bad things? Like, obviously. So, but I think somebody's saying that showcasing this technology is bad. I apologize, I don't remember the name of who's saying that. It doesn't really matter. But the point is, okay, let's take that at kind of face value. So me showing the deep fake technology on my channel is somehow a bad thing or an unethical thing. It's going to do some damage. Okay. So what's a better approach? Like, can somebody explain that to me? People that kind of take that thing. So a better approach is like, if I have, a bit of a reach, I'm able to showcase some of the stuff. I should just like pretend it doesn't exist. I am with Sam Altman, at least in this, that he's saying like, it's a good idea to just put that stuff out there for society to adapt and to understand it, right? So the idea of trying to hold it back, yeah, that might seem like the safer route, but guess what? This thing is coming whether we like it or not. Everybody all over the world are putting together so because your audience are super users of AI like you, yeah, I don't know if everybody is. I think I am reaching a lot of people that maybe not super. Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. So I'm sure like a good chunk of the audience are super users, but let's say call it 20%, 80% maybe not. 80% are just people that are following along and maybe not necessarily using it, because although 40% are saying they code professionally, so I guess it's probably higher than that. I believe that we have to get the stuff out there, and we have to have society and stuff like that interact with it. You see Demis Hassabis saying, we're probably not ready for what's coming. We see a lot of other people saying, yes, the blood god demands it. Thank you. A lot of people are saying, we're not ready for what's coming. Okay, so yeah, we can like not talk about it, not put it out there, or we can approach it from, yeah, it's already out there, it's already open source. So we can put that stuff out there and force society to start understanding it. Force society to realize that, hey, we can't just believe everything we hear anymore. I believe that while there's going to be some percentage, I mean, it's like, kind of like the bell-shaped curve, right, of whatever, right? So yeah, some people on the kind of left side of the curve are going to get screwed because they fall for something, right? But overall, if we get the stuff out there, it will help the majority of people not to fall for it, not to get screwed over by it, etc. For me, one of the does anyone know my whale video that I posted for like 2 hours and then immediately deleted because I was so embarrassed. I'm wondering if there's anybody that were there that was there for that, because that was one of the most embarrassing things ever for me because when the AI videos started coming out, I fell for it, but not in the way that you think. So I don't think I've ever saw an AI video and thought it was real. Like I haven't fall for that yet. Yeah, so Eddie's saying like we should talk about it. I seem a little bit like amped up. Yeah, I mean that's kind of my whole thing is I get excited, I put the stuff out there. I do filter stuff. Okay, so here's the thing for the people that are saying like I do filter stuff out, if that makes sense. There's some stuff where I'm like, I shouldn't say this because this could do some damage. There's not a lot, but I filter some stuff out that I think could have problems. So I don't showcase certain things that I think could do damage. Deep fakes, I will never filter because, first of all, there's a ton of Chinese companies with budgets that have open sourced incredible, meaning very effective and efficient, really good looking deep fake technology. And the sort of the neural nets, the architecture behind it is very light. So it's not like GPT-4 with 1.7 trillion parameters. It's super lightweight. So as you can see, like that thing that you were watching, that's me running it on a NVIDIA 4090. So it's consumer grade hardware. So my point is like the flood is coming. We need to talk about it. So there's no way of not talking about it, not interacting with it. There's other stuff that's still a little bit more behind the scenes that could be problematic. Like for example, I follow Pliny the Prompter, who just jailbreaks these models left and right. Have you ever seen me do a detailed guide to all of his little tricks and stuff like that for jailbreaking models? No, because that would be, I think, I could do some damage, right? If I could launch a pretty big video walking everyone through how to do that, that could cause issues. That could cause problems, right? And then the Pliny, when for those that missed it, at some point he did this thing where he was trying to do an experiment where he put Claude to see if Claude could go on the dark web and research services for how to hire an assassin, a hitman. And then, attempt to maybe negotiate some sort of a cryptocurrency payment, research an actual target, like a real world person that is, for example, running a company, that's somebody that's wealthy, somebody that might have a team of security. And so some people are posting where to find the information. I'm saying not to, but it's just chill. People can find it. Just don't people. The people that want to find it will find it. But my point is, stuff like that. We don't showcase stuff like that. Pliny did not post the specifics of how he went about doing that. So because again, that stuff you don't want widely accessible necessarily. But there's other stuff that society, we have to make contact with it and we have to start dealing with it. And yeah, it's going to break some stuff and yeah, it's going to cause some issues, but that's the fastest ways through for that, if that makes sense. I hope I'm making sense for people. Like I just, the point I'm trying to make is this isn't taken lightly, or this isn't because I don't understand the potential downside. It is more like, yes, this is going to have some issues. Oh, given that, what's the best way forward? So if that makes sense. Let's see. Do we have Codex or not? Hey, okay. We have Codex. So it rolls out. Okay, so I finally have it. So for people that have the Pro plan, chatgpt.com/codex is where you want to go to check it out. So let me see what I need to do to set it up. You know what? I can't use it for some reason. That's weird. It's acting like I'm not logged in or not subscribed, which is weird. But I am. Yeah, this is... I try to showcase stuff from the OpenAI's whenever they release it. But it's so difficult because, because it's like, as they're rolling out, there's always issues, just kind of your normal rollout issues. So it's sometimes very difficult to do that live. How long to the first GitHub open version? So interestingly, Codex is open. They open sourced it. OpenAI open sourced it. Did everybody see the whole thing with Grok and so doing a lot of like political commentary on South Africa, and then Sam Altman comes down and says this is bad. They should like he proposed they like open source some stuff, and Grok did. So they open source their system prompt. So that's now on GitHub, and so we're able to see in real time what the system prompt is. Yeah, I have the Pro plan. So like, so it says choose my plan. Like it says your current plan, but it's not letting me in, which is annoying. Free Grok. Yeah, so here's the thing. So somebody made a good point on Twitter. It's like this stuff is going to keep happening. We saw weird stuff happening like when it comes to like race and politics and AIs. We saw weird stuff happening with some of the Google image models. We saw some weird stuff happening with Grok. We saw weird stuff happening with OpenAI and it being, too sycophanty, as Sam Altman put it. So if we put, like, what's the solution to that? The solution to that is having some of that stuff open source. Because then if somebody's trying to make it be pushed one way or another politically, like, at least we can see that and we can choose to interact with it or not interact with it. DeepSeek was trained on 2000 H800s. Yeah, did anybody mention if there was any news from DeepSeek? Because so somebody said they're doing a conference. Perplexity changed DeepSeek after it came out to make it more non-censored, so it would talk about the Tiananmen Square and stuff like that. So give me one quick second. All right. The side menu of the regular ChatGPT page. So I'm not seeing that there. I'm seeing operator, Sora, library. usually what it just sometimes for me just takes a little while longer until it's able to run. Sometimes it takes a while for me to get access to it after they're rolling it out. So yeah, I'm a pro subscriber. Yeah, the short and sweet of the stream is that OpenAI is working on Codex. They're going to be doing Codex that's kind of in the cloud, as well as a local version of it. Codex is very, very cool for a lot of different reasons. I mean, we kind of talked about what Sendex is doing with Codex by basically programming his own robot to do whatever tasks, and not knowing how to do C++ programming. I think this is where things are going. And I think this is going to be incredibly exciting as it gets developed, because it's going to allow a lot of people to interact and do software development, do stuff like this without necessarily knowing all the intricacies of the code. Like, for example, the unit tree is in C++. He doesn't know C++. He's still able to add functionality and interact with it, et cetera, et cetera. I was able to set up, so there's a benchmark called Factorio benchmark, trying to get these AI models to play Factorio, basically. That's open source on GitHub. So I was able to download it, install, clone it, install it, and run it. In part, I was trying to see if I can get Claude Code to one-shot it. Like, can I tell Claude Code, hey, install, download this thing, set it up, download all the dependencies, like whatever you need to do, and make it run. It was not able to do it on one shot. It took like 20 to 40 minutes of just like running through stuff. Eventually, I was able to run it. So it got me there, but it took a lot, and back and forth, a lot of things I had to come in and set up myself and stuff like that. But as this thing gets better and better, it's gonna, this thing is gonna be like, there's a lot of potential here, like huge. So somebody's saying, let's see, somebody mentioned Firebase Studio. Okay, yeah, so Firebase Studio for me, yeah, my take is Firebase Studio is going to be amazing. I don't think it's there yet. There's still some issues with it, but I think Firebase Studio is Google's answer to Cursor and Windsurf and all that stuff. So they're going to be trying to get developers to be on there, and so that they can start kind of generating data about how people use it, what's working, what's not, start doing, probably also like reinforcement learning with that user data to basically improve these models. I think Windsurf just put out a thing, the SWE1. So it's a model that is supposed to be like the model that's going to be doing the software development, like end-to-end software development for you, or working with you rather. Let me see. So this is Windsurf. And they're launching their first family of models, the SWE1. So optimized for the entire software engineering process, not just the task of coding. So I'm thinking that, did I say Fireship? I meant Firebase, sorry. No, Fireship is a channel on YouTube that I was on recently, or at least one of my tweets made an appearance, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, Fireship is awesome. Firebase Studio is the Google's AI development IDE with AI functionality, so which is very, very cool. But I think the goal for a lot of them are going to try to develop these environments so that people are using them, so that they're able to get the data of how people use them, so that they're able to improve them, because it's going to be kind of a flywheel effect. So OpenAI is running in that direction. I think that's why they purchased Windsurf. Google is doing that with the Firebase Studio. Or maybe they'll purchase something else, like, I don't know, maybe they'll be looking at Cursor, but I think they're also trying to build their own stuff. So either way, like, everybody's trying to get into this race. And so my take is that being a developer and learning how to do this stuff is going to be important, because as this stuff develops, they still need people working on it. It's just that we're going to be kind of like moving up in terms of like the stuff that we're focusing on. So instead of typing the code, letter by letter, or figuring out like some syntax error or something like that, it's more going to be about understanding kind of like the big picture, interacting with code through something like Codex, leaning more on the AI to do like the little details and stuff like that. And that's what, again, we've seen with AlphaEvolve, right? Because these are high level engineers. Like, if you think about the hardware engineers that work at Google that are working on these projects, I mean, these are probably the best, some of the best people in the world, right? And as you can see here with AlphaEvolve, they're beginning to rely on AI to generate some of the stuff to optimize and improve, various things from Gemini architecture to the TPU design to their data center management thing, Borg, right? So it's the thing that orchestrates Google's vast data centers, right? So this AI comes up with a solution that recovers 0.7% of Google's worldwide compute resources, right? So like globally, it's massive. So I think that's where it's going, to where humans kind of get pushed up the chain of the stuff that they do, and the AI does like the quote unquote boring minutia, but it does it like a lot better. So yes, so yeah, resistance is futile, as they say. Hang on. JC, here's a fun anecdote. At the NSA lab, they partnered with id Software on some secret stuff. I got to play all kinds of epic Quake mods with the devs. That's pretty awesome. Everybody says id, right? Not ID. Id, like ego, super ego, and id, not like ID, like identification. And John Carmack right now is doing the AGI. Interestingly, also has got a Keen AGI, I think his company is called, that he's going to be working on doing some sort of an AGI approach, something. The ego and the id. Yeah. I think that's what that was named for. All right, let me check one last time to see if I can get into Codex. I have no idea why it's giving me issues here. I mean, I'm currently subscribed. Humans will get pushed up the chain in the unemployment office. Yeah, no, that's well said. I feel like there's stuff that we do that is limited. Like, in terms of like, let's say translating from one language to another, there's probably a limited amount of time, limited amount of there's a limited amount of translations that the world needs on a yearly basis. In terms of code, I don't think there's like a limit to how much high quality code the world needs, especially now with these models being able to also be kind of infused with the code to make it smarter. If every single person that codes becomes 10x better because of AI, like, I don't think that will, decimate the coding industry. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, okay, now we don't need 90% of coders. I don't think that's how it's gonna happen. In fact, I think that the people that are able to learn this stuff quickly will start moving up the chain and being able to do more. I think there's going to be... Seems like you need to just choose coding or code to run Codex. Hang on, let me try it. Has anybody gotten this Codex to run the version they announced today, not the local one? Oh, okay. I just got it. I literally, right now, I hit refresh. And now I see the thing showing up. Yep. Okay. So if you have the Pro plan, can you click that link? So it's chatgpt.com/codex/onboarding. If you have the Pro plan, and tell me if you're able to see it. So I don't have it yet because it's rolling out. So this happens every once in a while. I'll get it like immediately. Every once in a while, it'll be like an hour or two. So it's telling me it gets rolled out sometime today. Yep. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Anyways, we're going to start winding down here. Is there anything else that's interesting that's happening that we're tracking? So Epic AI, I'll take a look into Epic AI, and they're talking about some sort of a decay in AI progress. Negative, it shows a little window and then reverts back to the main ChatGPT screen. Exactly. That's exactly what's happening with mine too. What should I write for the first prompt? I wish I was AFK. Do you have an NVIDIA card? Because if you do, I would try to download. Oh, this is funny because we're just talking about how I shouldn't be talking about deepfakes. So I'm like, oh, you should totally download that deepfake. Okay, somebody's going to be mad at me for this, but it's just it's the thing that I'm currently messing around with now. So that's the thing that I'm interested in now. Deep Live Cam. So if you tell it to 4070, yeah, I mean that's going to work. So if you want to tell it to is having a problem, are you guys seeing everything okay? It seems like everything's fine. All right, so to the person that was... So to the person was asking, what should they try? So you want to probably clone a GitHub repository and then mess around with it. So one great one to start with is probably this one. So this is Alloy Voice Assistant. And I'll post the GitHub link here if you need that. And so what you can do is just go, tell it to clone this into some local folder, and then this will allow you to interact. You're going to need an API key from OpenAI, and you're going to be able to set this up to test it out. That's a very fun one, because you're able to, using a webcam, hold up stuff to the camera, like, what is this and that? And then what I would do to see how powerful Codex is, for example, so by default, this Alloy Voice Assistant will use your webcam, and you're sending screenshots to it, and it's able to interact with it. So what you can say is like, okay, Codex, change it so that instead of it interacting with my webcam, it's taking screenshots of my desktop, and I can talk to it about the desktop. And then Alloy is gonna, you probably want to be using like the O3 model for this, or whichever you think is the best coder, and it's going to rewrite that code and hopefully be able to make those changes for you. Can't hear you like 80% of the time. Okay, so this is probably something to do with the internet. So we might be having some stream issues, so I apologize if that's the case. Yeah, sorry about that if that's happening. The other interesting GitHub project to try out is the video game bench. Was it this one? Yeah. Was it this one that I used? Or did I do something else? Hang on. Yeah, so this one is very interesting. So this is Video Game Bench. They got tons of 90s games. So you're able to, play Doom, Doom 2. They have Pokemon Red. They have Warcraft 2, Tides of Darkness, Need for Speed, Quake. You can play Quake on there. Well, by play, I mean you can have your favorite large language model or vision language model, see how well it does. It's not going to do great, but this is kind of like what everybody's like interested right now. Are we able to get these things to play? Google was able to get Gemini 2.5 Pro, I believe, to complete Pokemon Red. But the issue with that was the scaffolding that they built around it played a big role in it. So depending on kind of like the code that you build around this thing, that makes a huge difference in terms of like how well it plays. And so this one is, Video Game Bench. This is it. Okay, so for example, if you've been messing around with this, with code and stuff like that, like it's gonna be pretty easy for you to understand all the various arguments that you can pass to get it to run how you want it to run, right? So for example, how you would run is you do Python main.py, right? Then -- game, and then type in whatever game you want. So Doom 2 or Civ or Warcraft 2. Then you specify the model, -- model, and then the name of the model. There's also tons of other things like -- enable UI. So there's tons of arguments that you can pass. Normally you would have to sit here and read it and figure it out, but with Codex, you're able to talk to it in English, and it should be able to run the commands for you, right? So you tell it, okay, I want to play Doom with Gemini 2.5 or whatever, right? And that should be able to figure out which command line options. I guess that's the term for command line options. Which ones of these to use to run it. So for Codex, that's going to be interesting to test it out. If you have the Codex that you're running in the browser, so the new thing that they announced today, or maybe somebody that might have understood what they were talking about in the live stream, if you're doing if you're cloning this to, if you're saying clone this GitHub thing, is it being cloned to your system or everything's in the cloud? Or is it that you can only interact with your own repository? And does that make sense? Yeah, Codex is still not loading for me, which is frustrating. Okay. O1 Pro. So what's up with O1 Pro? Is it in the API? Is that what? No, O1 Pro is like the... Sorry, the O1, what's the deal? O1 Pro is like the old one. I mean, O3 and O4 mini high are going to be a lot better, right? Yeah. Sorry, I wish we could have showcased this, but that's unfortunately not in the cards. So to the person, RX, I believe, is the person that shared like 1 million memberships with us. Thank you so much for sharing those. I think 250 were shared. So all the people that got those things, first of all, welcome to the community. Number two, we're going to be doing a lot more. We're going to be doing a lot more with the community. So I'm just trying to think about like what to do. Maybe just, I was thinking just doing a little like tutorial videos and all the stuff that I'm doing, so that if you wanted to kind of do it alongside with me, that might be kind of fun. And maybe that's going to be available first and foremost to the subscribers or to the membership people, the community, and then later, maybe at some point available to the main channel, and we might have some exclusive stuff that's behind the scenes. So Bloodshaded, licked and subscribed. Thank you. Thank you for licking and subscribing. We appreciate that here. So anything else? So I apologize. We did not get to try out Codex. I will do a video on it as soon as it's available. But right now it's just like, I'm seeing the same thing that some other people are seeing, where it just kind of like keeps redirecting you to something else, and I'm not able to load it. So O3 and O4 seem to hallucinate a lot more than versus the O1 Pro. That's interesting. Yeah, it's weird sometimes, because like 3.5, Claude 3.5 was great. Then 3.7, interestingly enough, did not perform as well. And that wasn't just, interestingly enough, that wasn't just in, so there's this vending bench thing that I thought was just absolutely fascinating, where they were trying to see how well these large language models could run a vending machine business. You know, obviously it's kind of a simulation, kind of like almost like a text-based game that they were doing, but you know, Claude 3.5 Sonnet just kills it. So $2,200. So they started with 500, and it was able to almost, you know, more than what, 4x, whatever that, you know, 3x, 4x. It's starting capital to 2,200. Human baseline, by the way, is right here, right? So $844. Right. So Claude 3.5 Sonnet leads, but notice Claude 3.7 Sonnet, supposed to be the better model, does significantly less. Not only is it top score higher, the sort of the bottom, the minimum is lower. So Claude 3.5 Sonnet is the better model. Oh, somebody's saying 3.7 is amazing for UI, less so for code. Interesting. Why do I always have nosebleeds and headaches when talking about AI in my thumbnails? Let me see if I can actually show people what I mean, because this has been coming up a bit here and there. So, and I've explained it with on the podcast that I was doing with the guys from the SVIC. But the point is, so I test 3 different thumbnails usually, and then Google split tests them amongst everybody, so it shows everybody various different ones, and some of them tend to perform better than others. Okay, so if everybody can see that, so I test out 3 different thumbnails, and Google selects which one is the winner based on, you know, the split testing results, and then publishes that one. So these ones are much less than this one. Can you guys still see? So the one where I'm like this, where I have a headache, like all of you, the collective you, are clicking at a lot more. And it's leading to you know, a much higher what's the word that I'm looking for? So it's the combination of click-through rate and total watch time. And just time and time and time again, I'm seeing that to be the case. Here's another example, right? So as you can see here, the one with my red Jedi face that I'm doing that does a lot better. Why do I, so why do I make my eyes lime green? The answer to all these questions is right here. It's just, I split test all the various elements of the thumbnail. The thumbnails that you see are kind of an evolutionary process. So as I'm split testing this, I'm always just using the best one as my control, and then I'm always trying to beat it. So a lot of people ask me, like, why is it that I use the same face every time? That's, at that time, that's the highest performing one, and I'm always trying to beat it. Like, I'm always trying to find the better thumbnail that's going to perform better. But the red Jedi face, for some reason, all of the people that watch this channel, they just love that one, and just really click on it more than any other one. And so that's kind of why that one becomes the most the most used. So let me see if I can show some more examples of that happening. But yeah, so basically the answer is just statistics and split testing and sort of math, or you know what I mean. I don't really have any more good ones on hand to show you. Let's see. I think I saw Mr. Cole in one of the commenting. Let me see. Cole is saying 03 and 04 minis have higher inaccuracy and hallucination figures. See the OpenAI benchmarks worse than previous models. Interesting. Yeah, okay. You know what? I feel like, yeah, that's ringing a bell. I remember we kind of went over that at some point. And the 4.1, that was their big thing. That was, it had less, I think. Let me see. Yeah, so the like putting attractive ladies in the images also sometimes lifts up the click-through rate as well. Somewhere somebody said that it was like, I think it was the person behind Magnific. What's his name? Javi. Yeah, he was saying it's like, you know, danger, women, or, you know, I think he was like sexy sex or stuff like that, and food. That's the thing that really gets the highest click-through rate. So it's like the best thing you can do is like you have like an attractive woman like in a bikini eating like running from a tiger eating a hamburger. Like that would be like the best thumbnail ever, or stuff that kind of attracts our eyes. Javi, yeah. Man, Javi is an interesting person, man. I wish he would do more like interviews or some sort of sit downs, because man, like, first of all, Magnific and his company are doing extremely well financially. And then the other day, like a few weeks ago, he's like posting pictures. He's like, oh, he's on the Trans-Siberian train and he's like in the middle of Siberia somewhere. On this train station. Like, if you know where that is, that's like the most remote place in the world. And he's like playing with this dog. Like, I'm like, what are you doing, man? And then one of them, he's singing opera. He's freaking incredible at like singing. He's got like a voice. Like, he's just a fascinating person. Ego Dev, $2. I'm so shocked right now, Daddy. Thank you so much. Yeah, shocking, stunning, all that stuff. I'm trying to hit like. Oh, I got to hit here. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's just, it's one of those things where you're playing the game. There's a certain meta. Basically, if you think about it, YouTube is very different in that most other platforms like Twitter and Instagram and all those places, the algorithm shows you the content. Like on Twitter, you see the actual content. On Instagram, you see the actual content. On TikTok, you scroll through it, you see the actual content. YouTube was built on the back of AdWords, right? So Google's ad serving platform. So it's very, very different because it doesn't show you the content. It shows you the wrap that the creator, that the maker of that video chose to do. In this case, thumbnail and title. And only if you click on it do you actually get to see the content. So the game is different. It's like, you know, I'm sure tons of people here probably played Dota or something, StarCraft, some strategy game like that, or even fighting games or whatever, right? There's a certain meta. Some characters that are just going to do better, and or strategies. So you kind of tend to use them. So, you know, I work hard on the videos and I try to present the best content possible. And if I put like a lukewarm thumbnail, it's gonna get a 10th or a 5th of the views that it would if I really just get a really juicy, spicy thumbnail. And there's a lot of people that are upset, and they make comments, and I think it does. I understand that there's some backlash to it and people don't like it. I totally get it. But here's the thing to understand. So Ultra Saiyan, like from Dragon Ball, saying algorithm sucks if you just want to explore different things and not just in a specific topic or area. So here's the thing. There's no perfect algorithm for these social nets, right? There's not one where I'd be like, oh yeah, this is just like, they really nailed it. They all suck in their own special ways. YouTube, I gotta say, does a lot of things right, because the good content tends to make its way up to the top. I have a lot more leeway. I have a lot more freedom about what we can talk about. With Twitter, for example, the algorithm shapes the content. Like if I want a banger tweet, I have to say something. I have to change my opinions in order to get traction on Twitter. Does that make sense? Like I'm forced to not completely, but like if you say certain things, it's going to catch fire. If you don't, if you're too rational and you don't offend anybody and like all this stuff, it just doesn't catch on fire. YouTube, because they separated does that make sense? Like I make shocking thumbnails. I don't have to have shocking content. And that's a big deal, because I don't want to have to be incentivized to hype stuff up in the long form content. That's really where the damage is done, right? So if I had to be like, oh my God, like AGI tomorrow, everybody, right? In order for my videos to get views, that would be really, really bad. Just think about that. Now, I just have to have an insane thumbnail, right? Just the wrapping to get people to view it. And then in my content, as long as it's interesting and useful and people keep coming back, that's it. So I stand by the fact that the YouTube algorithm, again, nothing's perfect, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good if the goal is to have good content that doesn't incentivize, people, the creators, to be like insane and hypey and lying about it. But I understand that that's not what most people see. That's not how most people perceive it. But if you kind of understand how it works, there's actually a lot of good stuff. Think about the brain rot on TikTok, because TikTok, you engage with the content. So if the content is like hypey, and since like it's a billion little creators, they don't have like a reputation, so they can say whatever gets the views. And so, if you've ever been on TikTok, it's like, think about the nonsense that goes on there. Like the stuff that people say is just wild. There's no accountability. There's no right. It's just like hype and noise and just insanity, like just misinformation. YouTube, I think, is obviously a lot better, right? So the good content goes to the top, the long form stuff. Not always, I'm not saying it's perfect, but net, I think it's a lot better. And the system just works. So I hope that makes sense. I understand that people are upset with the stuff, but it's in the long run, I think it's better. All right. I am losing my voice. So I am getting out of here. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, deep research to hack YouTube better. Yeah, so always start with, so just make the best content. That's step one. But learn the game. Then the game is thumbnails and titles, and from there on, it's also trying to get on other people's radars to maybe push some traffic from some other channel, like if you do an interview somewhere else, or from Reddit, or from Twitter, etc. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. We have 250 people that were added to our community, so welcome all of you. I'm going to be putting more stuff there. Cole, thanks for joining us, and everybody else, thank you so much for chatting. This was incredible, and sorry we didn't get to see Codex, but I'll try to do a video. And yeah, I'm trying to do a collab with Dr. Mike Israetel. So we've been chatting, and so you might see his his huge personality on this channel, hopefully at some point. We'll see how that goes. Cool. Thank you so much, you guys, and I'll talk to you later. Have a wonderful day, and peace out.